Aaron Malik, a dedicated wildlife protector, lived for this silence. His days belonged to the dirt, the wind, and the animals that called this land home. He patrolled the reserve with an old backpack, a pair of binoculars, and a heart stubborn enough to care even when nature said not to interfere. He loved all wildlife, but lions pulled him in a different way. There was something ancient in their presence, something that made the land itself feel smaller around them. He would climb the rocky ridges just to sit above and watch them roam below. Lionesses leading hunts, cubs wrestling playfully, the dominant male stretching in the shade like a king waking from a kingdom-sized dream. But this year, the heat was different. The earth wasn't just cracking, it was shifting. The cliffs that towered above the plains were losing their strength. Every ranger knew the risk. One wrong vibration could turn rock into ruin. Landslides were no longer rare, they were expected. One blistering afternoon, Aaron reached his usual vantage point. From here, the entire grassland spread out like an endless ocean of gold. He lifted his binoculars and scanned the pride. Lionesses rested lazily under shade, while cubs curious and wild with energy chased each other toward the cliff's edge. Aaron froze. Small paws kicked loose stones as they tumbled over the edge, disappearing into the void below. The lionesses were too far to notice. The male lifted his head, ears twitching, sensing movement, but not danger. The cubs were still playing inches away from disaster. Aaron's pulse spiked. He muttered under his breath, "Please notice. Please call them back." As if hearing his thought, the male finally stood and let out a deep call, the kind that vibrated in the chest before reaching the ears of others. The cubs didn't respond. Another call louder. Still nothing. The cubs were lost in their own game, nudging each other closer to the edge. Aaron closed his eyes for half a second. This wasn't interference. This was survival. Adrenaline shoved hesitation aside. Aaron radioed for reinforcement and began descending the ridge, gripping roots and rocks to keep himself balanced. By the time he reached the ground, dust filled the air like smoke. The sun hammered his back as he sprinted across uneven land, heading straight toward the cliff. The lions noticed him only when he was close enough for the male to step forward, issuing a warning growl. Aaron slowed hands, raised voice calm and low. "I'm not here to harm." He didn't know why he spoke. The lions didn't understand the words, but they understood honesty. The ground beneath the cubs shifted again. A small rumble vibrated through the soil. That was it, no more time. Aaron threw a rope around the base of a rock, tied the harness around his waist, and began edging toward the cub now frozen in fear, its paws sliding slightly on the loose dirt. Every step was a test the earth wasn't sure it could handle. The male lion was tense, pacing, his instincts unsure whether Aaron was the threat or the only hope. Aaron reached the cub just as the ground beneath it broke. A crack ripped downward, and the cub slipped with a startled cry. Aaron lunged, arm out, fingers grazing fur. He caught it. The cub swung by the scruff, dangling in Aaron's grip as dirt rained from above. With strength fueled purely by fear and instinct, Aaron pulled the cub against his chest and pressed backward, boots digging for stability as the rope pulled tight. From the distance came the sound of a jeep. Backup was arriving. Two rangers ran and grabbed the rope, helping drag Aaron and the cub onto solid ground. Dust exploded around them as part of the cliff finally gave way, a deafening crash echoing through the plains. The cub shook violently, terrified and confused but alive. Aaron loosened his grip carefully. The male lion stood only meters away now, chest heaving with deep breaths, head lowered, eyes locked onto Aaron. The other rangers hesitated, hands near their belts, ready to react. Aaron raised a hand, signaling no weapons, no noise. He crouched, untied the last loop of the rope from the cub's body, and in a slow, respectful movement stepped back. The cub stumbled toward its mother, collapsing in the dry grass. But the male lion didn't rush to his pride. He stared at Aaron, not with confusion, not with threat, but with something that didn't fit the rules of prey and predator. Recognition. The lion finally turned, nudged the cub gently, and guided him back to the safety of the pride. Aaron exhaled, sweat dripping, pulse hammering, but his smile was quiet and satisfied. The other rangers approached. "You're insane," one of them muttered, half laughing. Aaron shrugged. "Maybe, But sometimes the line between interference and rescue is survival. The seasons turned. Heat surrendered to dark clouds. The monsoon arrived the way all storms from the sea arrive, loud, wild, and uninvited. The earth, once cracked, was now drowning under muddy floodwater. Footpaths vanished into swampy traps. Trees fell, blocking routes. Animals struggled. So did people. Aaron didn't stop his patrols. The park dangerous or not needed eyes. Rain hammered the hood of his Jeep as he crossed a narrow dirt road, now slick and unpredictable. He stopped often to check collapsed trails and record damage. One evening, as gray clouds swallowed the sky, Aaron stepped out to inspect a fallen tree. That was when he heard it. A distant rumble, not thunder, not vehicles. Mud. A landslide. It came too fast to outrun. The ground roared and churned like a living creature, a wave of wet soil, rocks, and broken branches rushing toward him. Aaron sprinted toward the Jeep, but the flow cut him off, turning his only escape into a churning river of earth. He climbed the nearest thing he could, the same fallen tree he came to inspect, gripping it tightly while mud began to swallow its trunk. His hands slipped. His strength faltered. Rain blurred vision and reason. His voice cracked into the storm. Help! Anyone. Mud splashed against his legs. His boots softened in sinking earth. The storm swallowed his voice. He was disappearing 1 inch at a time. Then, under the rain, a shape emerged in the distance. Not human. Not hyena or buffalo. Something larger. He heard a roar, deep and unmistakable, and Aaron's eyes widened. The lion. The same lion he had saved months ago now stood watching him through the rain. Standing tall. Unmoving. Unblinking. And Aaron understood. The wild remembers. The rain became a curtain of silver, blurring everything into moving shadows. The mudslide roared like a wild river, swallowing the ground inch by inch. Aaron clung to the fallen tree as the earth below shifted, threatening to drag him under. He felt his grip loosening. His boots were half buried, his fingers numb, his strength draining. The storm drowned out every sound except one. A deep, powerful roar cut across the wind like lightning. Aaron's head snapped up. Through the sheets of rain, the lion, the same lion he once saved from the brink of death, stood on higher ground, drenched but unmoving, watching him. Not curious, not territorial, purposeful. The lion paced along the mud's edge, searching for something, as if understanding the danger Aaron was in. Another thunderous wave of mud hit the tree, jerking Aaron's body downward. His foot slipped deeper. The mud began to pull. Panic clawed its way into his chest. Help! He shouted again, though the storm seemed to devour his voice before it could escape. The lion roared again, louder, not into the void, but toward the direction of the trail, toward where camp was miles away. It was calling, warning, like Aaron once had warned the lion cub near the cliff. The lion took several strides forward, stopping dangerously close to the rushing mud, as if refusing to look away, refusing to abandon the human who once risked his life. Another surge came, bigger, forcing Aaron to wrap his arms around the tree, his cheek pressed against the soaked bark. His strength was gone. He felt the moment where a human instinct simply accepts this is where it ends. But through the blur of rain, he heard something else, something that did not belong to storms or lions. Engines. Headlights cut through the storm haze. 2 Ranger Jeeps appeared, tires fighting for traction as they pushed through flooded ground. Voices shouted. Doors slammed. Aaron. Flashlights sliced through darkness, landing on him. He raised his hand weakly. I'm here. The lion didn't flinch from the human's arrival. Instead, it stood its ground, guarding its golden eyes, never leaving Aaron. The Rangers tossed ropes, bracing themselves against the trees. One Ranger slid through the mud on his stomach, pushing a rope around Aaron's waist with trembling hands. We've got you. The lion roared again, a warning this time to the storm, to fate, maybe to the worlds beyond human understanding. 3 Rangers pulled, their backs arching, boots digging, mud splashing. Aaron's body slowly emerged from the swallowing earth, inch by inch, breath after breath. When he finally reached solid ground, he collapsed onto his back, drenched, exhausted, but alive. Aaron lay there, chest rising sharply, eyes closed, rain washing over his face. He opened his eyes slowly and saw the lion still standing there. Not leaving, not running, simply watching. Two species both breathing hard, both carrying memories neither could explain in words. The rangers turned, noticing the lion for the first time, hands hovering near their belts. Aaron forced himself to sit up, raising a weak hand. No weapons, he managed to whisper. He's not here to harm. The lion didn't roar, didn't bare its teeth. It simply stood, rain rolling off its mane like tears from the sky. Then something extraordinary happened. The lion lowered its head softly, deliberately, like he had done once before to Aaron. The same bow the lioness had given months ago when Aaron rescued her cub. Gratitude unspoken, but unmistakable. The soaked giant looked at Aaron for a long, heavy second, memorizing him, confirming him, acknowledging something only the wild truly understands. Then, without fear or rush, the lion turned and walked away, disappearing into the tall rain-soaked grass, swallowed by the storm the same way it once vanished into the sunlit savanna. Aaron took a week off to recover. But on the third day, unable to stay away, he returned to the park, walking the familiar trails, breathing in the smell of wet earth and fresh leaves brought by the monsoon. As he passed a clearing near the ridge, he stopped. Something made him look up. There at the far edge near the bushes stood the lion. Not close, not threatening, just present, watching him the same quiet way Aaron used to watch lions from the cliffs. The rain had stopped. Dawnlight broke through scattered clouds, catching the lion's fur in soft gold. Aaron felt the weight of the moment settle into his heart, like a permanent mark, something deeper than fear, deeper than respect. Connection. The lion blinked slowly, not a predator's blink, but a knowing one, as if checking, "Are you well?" As if saying, "You returned," as if promising, "So will I." Then, as quietly as it came, the lion turned and disappeared into the brush, leaving the air fuller than before. This time, Aaron wasn't thinking about danger or territory or rules. He wasn't thinking about survival or protocol. He was thinking about something far older, something the earth knew long before humans carried names or borders. Trust. The kind built not by words but by risk. Not by expectation, but by courage. Not by ownership, but by respect. Aaron continued his work in the park, same as always, watching, protecting, learning, but now with the knowledge that somewhere out there in the wild savanna, eyes watched too, not out of threat, but out of memory, out of connection, out of something people rarely acknowledge exists, but Aaron had seen it with his own eyes. Because sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, the wild doesn't just survive. It remembers, it protects, it gives back. And in the end, Aaron Malik learned something most never do. In the wild, protection is not one-sided. When respect goes both ways, sometimes the protector becomes the protected.